Dust clung to the air that evening, heavy as judgment, and the auction yard smelled of sweat, whiskey, and old wood baking in the sun. Voices rose sharp and merciless, calling out numbers as though they were trading horses. On the weathered platform, two Apache sisters stood side by side. The elder, Isolde, kept her chin high though her eyes burned with quiet fury. Beside her, Naya trembled but clung stubbornly to her sister's sleeve, whispering a song too soft to drown the cruelty around them. The auctioneer's gavel struck hard. His voice cracked through the noise, calling them savages fit for labor, fit for nothing more than cattle. The crowd jeered and spat, the word sold landing like a curse. In the back, a man leaned on a railing, boots dusty, hat shadowing a face carved from solitude. Silas Boone had not come to buy anything. He had lived too long with cattle and silence, his only company the wind that whistled across his sagging ranch fences. But when his gaze caught the trembling of Naya's hands, the way Isolde stood like stone to shield her, something shifted in him. Around him, men laughed. No place for them but chains, one barked. Better use as sport, another sneered. Shame burned hot in Silas's gut. He had kept silent too often in life, watching cruelty pass, as if it weren't his concern. That night, his silence ended. The gavel fell, and Silas's hand lifted, steady as a drawn line. "I'll take you home," he said. Laughter tore through the crowd. Men slapped their knees. Women covered smirks with gloved hands. "Boone's gone soft," one drawled. "He's finished," another muttered. By the time the wagon rolled out of town, gossip was already spilling through saloon doors and general store counters. Boone with Indian girls. Boone ruining himself. Boone marked by sin. The ride back was long and heavy. The wheels clattered against stone while silence pressed thick between them. Isolde's eyes stayed sharp, fixed on him like a hawk waiting for the moment he'd strike. She knew men and their hungers. She had no reason to believe this one different. Naya curled in the corner of the wagon, humming her low song, fragile but unbroken, clutching the rhythm of her people as though it might carry her home. Silas kept his eyes on the road, jaw set, feeling their weight not as prize but as burden, one he had chosen and could not put down. His ranch greeted them with weathered fences, broken posts leaning like tired men, a porch sagging under years of neglect. The cattle wandered in the distance, thin ghosts against the prairie grass. It was no sanctuary, only walls against the wind, but there were no ropes here, no chains. He offered Isolde the head of the table, though she refused to sit. He showed Naya how to draw water from the well, left bread by their door, but never stayed to watch them eat. Nights came cold, and they whispered in Apache by the fire, Isolde weighing escape against the strange gentleness of this man who had not touched them nor demanded their obedience. Hatred stayed close to her chest, but confusion slipped its way in, too. The town was not silent. Men at the saloon turned their backs when Silas entered. The preacher spat at his boots. Trade grew thin. Neighbors who once shared fence posts now left their greetings unsaid. And one night, drunken men rode past his ranch, shouting slurs into the wind, firing shots in the air until Naya woke screaming. The shame of it cut through Isolde like a blade. She spat at Silas's boots, her voice sharp with rage. "Why? Why buy us? You want pity? You want to be savior?" Silas looked at her, words forming then dying. He lowered his gaze instead, shame not from her spit, but from every silence he had carried through his life. He had no defense, but time has a way of softening stone. It was not words that changed the air between them, but the quiet rhythm of days. Silas showed Naya how to gentle a wild colt. She laughed when the animal nuzzled her hand, her voice ringing like water over stone, the first laugh since the auction block. Isolde, scowling, mended one of his torn shirts by the fire, snapping that it was only because she hated waste. When the first snow fell, Silas left his coat on the porch rail, only to find it later draped around Naya's shoulders. Slowly, without planning it, they began to belong to each other. Dignity grew not as a gift from him, but as something the sisters rediscovered within themselves, and Silas merely bore witness. Still, the world pressed hard. One night, the sound of hooves broke the quiet. Torches flickered at his gate, voices sharp with liquor and hatred. "Come out, Boone," they called. "Give us what don't belong to you." There were ropes in their hands, rifles on their shoulders. Silas stepped into the night, rifle gripped firm. But before he could speak, Isolde stood at his side. She had no weapon, yet her gaze burned fiercer than flame. Naya clutched the doorway, her voice a whisper trembling on her lips. The men jeered. "Choose, Boone. Hand him over, or we'll burn you out." For the first time, Silas's voice rose against the night, carrying like thunder. "They're under my roof. They're under my name. You want them, you come through me." The silence that followed was jagged and thick. The men shifted, laughed nervously, cursed into the dark. Then, one by one, they turned their horses and rode away, leaving smoke from their torches drifting into the stars. Inside, the fire cracked and popped, filling the quiet. Isolde watched him, studying something she had not seen before. She spoke his name, Silas, softly, without anger. Naya laid her head against his shoulder, tears slipping down her cheeks. Silas did not move, afraid the smallest shift would break this fragile moment. They sat that way, not captor and captives, not rescuer and rescued, but something closer to family, scarred, weathered, and bound by the choice to remain. Years later, the memory lingered not in the sound of the gavel nor the jeers of the crowd, but in the small acts of grace that followed. The old soul who tells this story speaks softly now. We are not cattle. We are not the names others pin to us. We are what we choose in the quiet, the hands we lift, the burdens we carry, the homes we dare to build. And in that truth lies the stubborn courage to say, even in a world bent on cruelty, "I'll take you home."